نحمد ونصلي على رسول الكريم أما بعد بسم الله. Surah Qaf. Surah Qaf is a Makki surah, 45 ayahs and 3 ruku. And it is named as Qaf because the surah begins with the letter Qaf. What is the connection of this surah with the previous surah? So Surah Hujurat mentions Bedouins who had brought Islam but not Iman yet towards the end of the surah. And in this surah, Surah Qaf, Allah SWT describes some of the components of Iman which should be believed by true Muslims, namely the resurrection and the hereafter and life after death, and the reality of paradise and hellfire. A brief synopsis of the surah is that this surah begins with the denial of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the resurrection by mushrikeen. So it describes what was the reason of this denial. Then it elaborates on Allah's power through creation of skies and the earth and other examples of mountains, vegetation, and rain. The surah reminds of the punishment to many past nations who had rejected their messengers. We learn about the events of hereafter, leading people into paradise or hellfire. And finally, Allah instructs believers to be patient and remain engaged in remembrance of Allah. There are many virtues of this surah. It comes in a narration in Muslim, إن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يقرأ في الفجر بقاف والقرآن المجيد وكان صلاته بعد تخفيفا. The Messenger of Allah used to recite in the morning prayer Qaf by the glorious Quran, and his prayer afterwards shortened. Narrated by Jabir bin Samura in Muslim. There are other narrations also that make this surah virtuous, where it is mentioned that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to recite Qaf in the Friday sermons and also during late prayers. So before going into the Tafseer of the surah, let's get some introduction to this surah. So this surah is the first surah in the Mufassal section of Quran. So recall that Sahaba used to divide Quran into 7 parts, as we learned from a narration in Ibn Majah and also in Sunan Abi Dawud. And the last section of that was called Hizbul Mufassal. And Qaf is the first surah of that section. So we learn by this narration from Aus bin Hulayfa that he asked companions, كيف تحزبون القرآن؟ قالوا 3 و5 و7 و9 و11 و13 وحزب المفصل. So he asked companions, how did you use to divide up the Quran? They said, a third, a fifth, a seventh, a ninth, an 11th, a 13th, and then Hizb al-Mufassal, meaning the first part was of 3 surahs, the second with 5 surahs, then 7 surahs, 9, 11, and 13 surahs, and the remaining surahs we used to consider as Hizb al-Mufassal. And if you count this, so the first 6 Hizbs will have about 48 surahs after Surah Fatiha. And then the next surah, which is Surah Qaf, is where the beginning of Hizb al-Mufassal is. And this last Hizb has 65 surahs.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قاف والقرآن المجيد. Qaf by the honored Quran. So the letter Qaf is among huruf muqatta'at, or the broken letters, also called isolated letters, which are revealed at the beginning of many surahs, like Alif Lam Mim, Ha Mim, this surah Qaf, Sad, Noon. Most scholars say that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has full knowledge of what it means, and He has kept it as a secret. Some scholars say that we can try to discern what they mean. So perhaps these letters are part of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As an example, Qaf may be part of His name Qadir or Qadir or Qahir or Qareeb or Qabid. Or maybe there are different names of Quran itself. Or perhaps these are just the name of the surahs, and Allah knows best. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes an oath on Quran. So the obvious question is, where is the Jawab al-Qasam, meaning the subject of the oath? So there are different opinions regarding the Jawab al-Qasam. One opinion is that it is the hidden or mahloof word. So the expanded version is لَتُبْعَثُنَّ. So Qaf wal Quran al-Majid لَتُبْعَثُنَّ, meaning by the glorious Quran, it has indeed been set down. Another opinion is that the Jawab al-Qasam is actually the next verse, بَلْ عَجِبُوا, which emphasizes the certainty of prophethood, and then the resurrection, which comes in the following verses. بَلْ عَجِبُوا أَنْ جَاءَهُمْ مُنذِرٌ مِّنْهُمْ فَقَالَ الْكَافِرُونَ هَذَا شَيْءٌ عَجِيبٌ. But they wonder that there has come to them a warner from among themselves, and the disbelievers say, this is a strange thing. Disbelievers here are objecting to the idea that there could be a human like them sent as a messenger. It comes in Surah Yunus, ayat number 2. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَكَانَ لِلنَّاسِ عَجَبًا أَنْ أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى رَجُلٍ مِّنْهُمْ أَنْ أَنذِرِ النَّاسِ. Is it a wonder for mankind that we have sent our revelation to a man from among themselves, saying, warn the mankind? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded to this argument in another place in Surah Isra, verse number 94. قُلْ لَوْ كَانَ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَلَائِكَةٌ يَمْشُونَ مُطْمَئِنِّينَ لَنَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَلَكًا رَسُولًا. Say, if there were upon the earth angels walking securely, we would have sent down to them from the heaven an angel as a messenger. So why are you being so surprised that there is a human among you sent as a messenger? Because it is humans who live on earth, and the message is for the humans. If there were angels living on the earth, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have sent someone like them as messengers. أَإِذَا مِتْنَا وَكُنَّا تُرَابًا ذَلِكَ رَجْعٌ بَعِيدٌ. When we have died and have become dust, we will return to life. That is a distant or unlikely return. Meaning, the disbelievers are continuing with their argument that once we die, our organs decay and our bodies disintegrate into dust particles. How is it possible to be alive again in our original form? This seems far-fetched and impossible. قَدْ عَلِمْنَا مَا تَنْقُصُ الْأَرْضُ مِنْهُمْ وَعِنْدَنَا كِتَابٌ حَفِيظٌ. We know what the earth diminishes of them, and with us is a retaining record. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dispels this thought by saying He knows exactly what happened to each and every part of their bodies as they disintegrated within earth. So it is not difficult for Him to resurrect a human body and recreate it in its original form from its disintegrated particles. بَلْ كَذَّبُوا بِالْحَقِّ لَمَّا جَاءَهُمْ فَهُمْ فِي أَمْرٍ مَرِيجٍ. But they denied the truth when it came to them, so they are in a confused state. So the word marij means mukhtalatun or muttarabun, the confused or corrupt. Meaning, disbelievers remain confused about the truth and bring forth various excuses not to accept it. But all such explanations or excuses are based on falsehood. It comes in Surah Dhariyat, ayat 8 and 9. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّكُمْ لَفِي قَوْلٍ مُخْتَلِفٍ يُؤْفَكُ عَنْهُ مَنْ أُفِكَ. Certainly you have different ideas. Deluded away from the Quran is he who is deluded. Meaning, these people are coming up with excuses. They're actually astray, and it is in their nature to be astray, and that's why they're not able to see the truth. Let's quickly review ayat 1 to 5. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the certainty of Quran as a glorious and divine revelation, and he takes an oath upon it. Allah's knowledge of every particle of disintegrated body and His power is there to resurrect it into original form. And there is rejection of truth by disbelievers through various excuses, and it reflects their confused state. أَفَلَمْ يَنْظُرُوا إِلَى السَّمَاءِ فَوْقَهُمْ كَيْفَ بَنَيْنَاهَا وَزَيَّنَّاهَا وَمَا لَهَا مِنْ فُرُوجٍ. Have they not looked at the heaven above them, how we structured it and adorned it, and how it has no rifts? So the word furuj means shuquq. It's a plural of faraj. It means a crack or opening. From this verse onwards, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins to count the flawless nature of His creation. And here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings attention to the creation of the sky, how you cannot find any crack in the sky. He has created such a wide sky upon us, and yet it is smooth. It comes in Surah Mulk, ayat number 3. الَّذِي خَلَقَ سَبْعَ سَمَاوَاتٍ طِبَاقًا مَا تَرَى فِي خَلْقِ الرَّحْمَنِ مِنْ تَفَاوُتٍ فَارْجِعِ الْبَصَرَ هَلْ تَرَى مِنْ فُطُورٍ. Who has created the 7 heavens, one above the other? You can see no fault in the creation of the Most Gracious. Then look again, can you see any rifts? So sky is a testament of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power. وَالْأَرْضَ مَدَدْنَاهَا وَأَلْقَيْنَا فِيهَا رَوَاسِيَ وَأَنْبَتْنَا فِيهَا مِنْ كُلِّ زَوْجٍ بَهِيجٍ. And the earth, we spread it out and cast therein firmly set mountains and made grow therein something of every beautiful kind. So in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the creation of the earth, how it is stretched, meaning made spacious. Not only that, this verse mentions that mountains are deeply rooted in earth. And when we read this verse, we only think about the mountains we see on the surface of the earth. But do these mountains go further, deeper into the surface of the earth, similar to how icebergs go deep in the sea? Scientists have studied earthquakes and the path of shock waves, and through seismic studies, they have determined that there are structures like mountains which exist under the crust of the earth, almost 600 kilometers deep. SubhanAllah, such is the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we are only aware of a small portion of His creation, the mountains that we see above the ground. The third aspect of creation mentioned in this verse is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has grown many species of plants, fruits, and vegetations upon earth. The term zawjin bahij, zawj means kind or type, and bahij means beautiful. تَبْصِرَةً وَذِكْرَى لِكُلِّ عَبْدٍ مُنِيبٍ. Giving insight and a reminder for every servant who turns. So عَبْدٍ مُنِيبٍ means راجعًا إِلَيْنَا مُذْعِنٍ بِقُدْرَتِنَا. Person who is returning to us, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, obedient to our command, our destiny. And when we look at these magnificent creations in the heavens and the earth, what should be the outcome of this observation? It should give us an insight into Allah's power. And it should act as a reminder for us to submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's majesty and lead us to repent on our ignorance and our faults in fulfilling His commands. وَنَزَّلْنَا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً مُبَارَكًا فَأَنْبَتْنَا بِهِ جَنَّاتٍ وَحَبَّ الْحَصِيدِ وَالنَّخْلَ بَاسِقَاتٍ لَهَا طَلْعٌ نَضِيدٌ رِزْقًا لِلْعِبَادِ وَأَحْيَيْنَا بِهِ بَلْدَةً مَيْتًا كَذَلِكَ الْخُرُوجُ. And we have sent down blessed rain from the sky and made grow thereby gardens and grain from the harvest. and lofty palm trees having fruits arranged in layers as provision for servants, and we have given life thereby to a dead land. Thus is the emergence, meaning resurrection. So the term Habb al-Hasid means seed, Hab means seed, and Hasid is harvest. And then Tal'un Nadid. So Tal means layers, and Nadid meaning arranged layers. And then Basiqat means Murtafi'at, tall. In these verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings to our attention the effects of rain on earth, that He sends down water which is beneficial because it produces gardens and grains that are harvested for food and storage. The rain also nourishes plants like date palms, which are tall and high, such that they produce lots of fruits as provision for people. Not only that, but rain brings life to barren land and transforms it into pastures and meadows. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this worldly observation and then redirects our attention to the concept of resurrection, meaning you have witnessed Allah's ability to revive the earth through rain, then you should have no qualms, no objection, no doubt in believing that He can also bring dead to life in the hereafter, and there is no room to deny His capability. It comes in Surah Ghafir, ayat number 57. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَخَلْقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ أَكْبَرُ مِنْ خَلْقِ النَّاسِ وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. The creation of the heavens and the earth is indeed greater than the creation of mankind, yet most of the people do not know. Let's review summary of ayat 6 to 11. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power is manifested in the creation of sky, earth, mountains, and all kinds of vegetation. We should turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all matters of life, and there is proof of resurrection in the revival of barren land into plantation and fruits through rain. كذبت قبلهم قوم نوح وأصحاب الرس وثمود وعاد وفرعون وإخوان لوط وأصحاب الأيكة وقوم تبع كل كذب الرسل فحق وعيد. The people of Nuh denied before them, and the companions of the well and Thamud, and Ad and Fir'aun and the brothers of Lut, and the companions of the wood and the people of Tubba. All denied the messengers, so my threat was justly fulfilled. These verses are a means of consolation to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that he's being opposed, similar to how other nations in the past have denied their messenger of their time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also reminds Quraysh and in turn us that rejection of his message leads to punishment and destruction. Many prophets are referenced in these verses. Let's go through all of them briefly. So Nuh alayhi salam was rejected by his people even though he lived for 950 years among them, and their punishment was a flood that drowned the entire nation except those who onboarded with him on the ark. Next is Thamud, and they were the people of Salih alayhi salam who were punished for killing the she-camel, which was miraculously sent to them out of a mountain. Then next are people of Ras, who were the remnants of Thamud, so people who remained after Thamud, and because they believed in Salih alayhi salam, they relocated to a place called Hadramaut. So when they accepted the message of Salih alayhi salam, they didn't receive the punishment. They relocated to a place called Hadramaut in Yemen. And Hadramaut means death overcame. And it got this name because Salih alayhi salam passed in that place. So death overcame Salih alayhi salam, hence it's called Hadramaut. After a few generations, these people became idol worshippers and killed the prophet sent towards them. It comes in Surah Hajj, they're mentioned in ayat number 45. فَكَأَيٍّ مِّن قَرْيَةٍ أَهْلَكْنَاهَا وَهِيَ ظَالِمَةٌ فَهِيَ خَاوِيَةٌ عَلَى عُرُوشِهَا وَبِئْرٍ مُعَطَّلَةٍ وَقَصْرٍ مَشِيدٍ. And many a township did we destroy while it was committing wrong, so that it lies in ruins, and an abandoned well and a lofty place. Then there is the mention of Ad, who were the nation of Hud alayhi salam. They were mighty in power, but upon denying the Prophet, they were destroyed by strong winds. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions Fir'aun, which is the title of Egyptian king, notorious for his tyranny. He was drowned in the sea along with his army upon rejecting Musa alayhi salam. People of Lut are referred to as brothers of Lut in this verse. They committed sodomy even after constant reminder from their prophet Lut alayhi salam to give up this practice, and they were severely punished in multiple ways, including turning their land upside down and stones from the sky. Then the dwellers of Aika, who were in fact the people of Shu'aib alayhi salam, are mentioned, and they were destroyed through an earthquake when they refused his message. And then finally, people of Tubba are mentioned. Now, people of Tubba were descendant of the tribe of Qahtan, similar to how Quraysh were descendant of the tribe of Adnan. They lived in the Himyar region in ancient Yemen, and their kings carried the title of Tubba, similar to how Egyptians had Fir'aun and Romans had Qaisar and Persians had Kisra as titles of their rulers. So this nation had their kings called as Tubba. So one of these rulers of Yemen with the title of Tubba conquered most of the Middle East and tried to take over Medina as well. But people of Medina fought him during the day and at night used to feed him out of hospitality. He felt embarrassed to continue his fight, and instead, after meeting with rabbis from Medina, he accepted the religion of Musa alayhi salam and became a Muslim. When he returned to his people, Tubba called them towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they too became Muslims on the religion of Musa alayhi salam. And finally, when he died, his nation returned to idol worshipping, and hence Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed them. It is not clear whether Tubba was a prophet or not. Towards the end of the verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, كُلٌّ كَذَّبَ الرُّسُلَ وَحَقَّ وَعِيدٌ, meaning that all these nations denied their messengers, and therefore they became worthy of punishment. أَفَعَيِّينَا بِالْخَلْقِ الْأَوَّلِ بَلْ هُمْ فِي لَبْسٍ مِّنْ خَلْقٍ جَدِيدٍ. Were we then tired with the first creation, but they are in doubt, confusion over a new creation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clarifies to anyone who is in doubt over resurrection that it's not like he got tired by creating everything the first time, so now he's not able to recreate them. It was easy for him to create again, just like it was easy for him to create the first time. In fact, for our understanding, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the second creation is even easier than the first one. Subhanallah. Everything is easy for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether the first time, second time, or hundreds of times. But we know in this world that an invention takes much longer to create than replicating the same product multiple times over in a factory. Hence, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses this analogy for our understanding. It comes in Surah Rum, ayat number 27, وَهُوَ الَّذِي يَبْدَأُ الْخَلْقَ ثُمَّ يُعِيدُهُ وَهُوَ أَهْوَنُ عَلَيْهِ. And it is He who begins creation, then repeats it, and that is even easier for Him. Comes in a narration narrated by Abu Hurairah in Bukhari. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, قال الله كذبني ابن آدم ولم يكن له ذلك وشتمني ولم يكن له ذلك فأما تكذيبه إياي فقوله لن يعيدني كما بدأني وليس أول الخلق بأهون علي من عيادته وأما شتمه إياي فقوله اتخذ الله ولدا وأنا الأحد الصمد لم ألد ولم أولد ولم يكن لي كفوا أحد. Allah said, so this is Hadith Qudsi, the son of Adam tells a lie against me, though he does not have the right to do so. He insults me, though he does not have the right to do so. As for his telling a lie against me, it is his saying that I will not recreate him as I created him for the first time. In fact, the first creation was not easier for me than the new creation. As for his insulting me, it is his saying that Allah has begotten children, while I am the one, the self-sufficient master, whom all creatures need, I beget none, nor was I begotten, and there is none like unto me. So these are some places where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clarifies how He has the power to recreate and resurrect humans. And similar to how He created the first time, that will give us even more reassurance that He can create us the second time in the hereafter. Let's quickly review summary of ayahs 12 to 15. Past nations were punished due to their denial of messengers, and we see examples of many messengers in these verses and how their nations were punished and destroyed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the ability to resurrect, similar to how He created everything the first time. There should be no doubt around it. We'll stop here inshallah. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم